Hey YouTube, Twig here, bringing you all an update to my Blackluster Soldier Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck profile for January 2022. Big thanks to my girlfriend Marissa for lending me her Blackluster Soldier support. It's one of her favorite decks. It's a really fun deck that focuses on the different banishments that you can do with all the different Blackluster Soldier monsters, and also utilizing the ritual monster that we have in the set, and gaining additional monster effects based on what you used for the ritual plays, and also using all the many other forms of Blackluster Soldier, along with its support, including the Gaia monsters and also the smaller forms and the different forms of the knights for it. Happy with the update, and I want to go for more of a pure build for the Blackluster Soldier deck. So we're focusing more on all the different support you run for the Blackluster Soldier deck as the main focus. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for the main deck, one of our main go-to boss monsters is Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier. You can ritual summon this card with Super Soldier Ritual. If this card destroys the opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, inflict damage to your opponent equal to its attack in the graveyard. And if this card is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, or if this card in your possession is destroyed by an opponent's card effect and sent to the graveyard, you can special summon one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your hand, deck, or graveyard. You can only special summon Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier once per turn. So you have a setup for another monster in case this card gets destroyed, but its setup is very familiar to Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning, giving you more and more requirements for the ritual setup. But this card's power also comes in with the many different monsters you may use for its ritual summon, including the next monster, which is Beginning Knight. With this card, if a Blackluster Soldier monster ritual summoned using this card gains these effects, you can only use this effect of Beginning Knight once per turn. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls and banish it. So it's just a straight up option of getting rid of your opponent's resources. But also, when this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, you can activate this effect. This card can make a second attack in a row, and if this card is banished from the graveyard, you can add one ritual spell from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Beginning Knight once per turn. So the banishment comes in the form of our Blackluster Soldier Envoy at the beginning being a banish cost to summon this card out, but being able to also search out the ritual spell gives us more and more options for our fusion plays, including recycle power for Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier, which I will get to when we go over the spell cards. And the next monster is the Evening Twilight Knight. I do want to run 3 copies of this card. Sadly, only have the 2, so I have one Envoy of Chaos in the deck as just sort of a filler spot for it. And once again, a Blackluster Soldier monster ritual summon with this card gains these effects, and you can only use this effect of Evening Twilight Knight once per turn. Once per turn, you can target one monster your opponent controls, banish it. So having 2 banishes, if you use Evening Twilight Knight and Beginning Knight for the ritual summon of Super Soldier, is quite scary. And its second card effect is once per turn, you can banish one random card from your opponent's hand face down until the opponent's next end phase. Taking away that card just makes it that much more difficult for your opponent to use resources. It's basically like using a Psyframe Lord Omega against your opponent. And if this card is banished from the graveyard, you can add one ritual monster from your deck to your hand. So if you have Beginning Knight and Evening Twilight Knight in the graveyard and both are banished, it gives you the search for then your ritual monster and your ritual spell, for then also having the Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the beginning on the field, which could potentially be used for the ritual play of that monster. For the Gaia support, since some of the cards are searchable, I do run them in lower numbers. I run 1 Artisan Gaia, the Fierce Knight, and 2 Charging Gaia, the Fierce Knight. Now, these cards are mostly in the deck for additional tribute and setup power. We do run some options with the Blackluster Soldier monsters that gain, monster effects when they are tributed out, but also used for the actual ritual plays to summon Blackluster Soldier for those plays. Comes in the form of when you can also tribute them out for cards like Super Soldier Ritual. Charging Gaia the Fierce Knight is able to be normal summoned without a tribute, and when it's normal summoned, its original attack becomes 1900. If it's tributed, you can add one Blackluster Soldier monster from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect of Charging Gaia once per turn, and with your Artisan Gaia the Fierce Knight, if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can normal summon this card without tributing, and also being able to special summon one Blackluster Soldier monster from your hand or graveyard. So it's recycle power. you can mix around the numbers for these two cards. If you want to try out more of an Arson Gaia the Fierce Knight setup, then you can drop the Charging Gaia. I just prefer Charging Gaia more or less for the search power that it can provide for your Blackluster Soldier monsters. And for some of the other one-ofs, I run one Super Soldier Soul. You can send one Blackluster Soldier monster from your hand to the graveyard until your opponent's next end phase. This card's attack becomes 3,000, and this card's name becomes Blackluster Soldier. You can banish this card from your graveyard to add one Beginning or Evening Twilight Night from your deck to your hand. You can only use each of the following of Super Soldier Soul once per turn. So very, very useful for the option for banishing, searching out the card. I'll run the one, though. I feel it's a good setup card to rely on, and being able to then use your Blackluster Soldier options for the play. But also, I run one Envoy of Chaos during either player's turn. You can discard this card, then target one Blackluster Soldier monster or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster you control. It gains 1,500 attack until the end of this turn. And if it does, every opponent's monster that battles it this turn has its attack become the original attack during damage calculation only. So you can hit for some pretty massive damage, but I feel like I said, they're just one-ofs, being able to be searched by some other cards in the deck, and more or less just here in case we can't, summon out the main go-to plays for the Blackluster Soldier deck. I also run two Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Beginning. This is the Banish setup that works very, very well with our Evening Twilight Night and our Beginning Night. Being able to summon out this card, giving us a monster that can either banish something on the field or even go for the after it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, being able to attack again. And also, it's basically the card effects that Evening Twilight Night and Beginning Night bestow upon two Blackluster Soldier Super Soldier in the form of this card. I also run one Blackluster Soldier Envoy of the Evening Twilight. It's more of a banish option by special summoning by banishing all light monsters or all dark monsters from your graveyard and gaining the effect based on what attribute that was banished for it. But you cannot conduct your battle phase the turn you activate it. If it's light, you target one monster in the field, banish it. And if it's dark, banish one random card from your opponent's hand face down to your opponent's end phase. Once again, following the trend of the Evening Twilight and Beginning Night, it's good for the banish because it also will resolve those cards for the search while getting this monster out. And one Blackluster Soldier Sacred Soldier. When it's normal or special summon, you can target one of your banished light or dark monsters and one card your opponent controls. Return that banished card to the graveyard, and if you do banish that card your opponent controls, recycling your other cards you may banish in the deck, and also giving you options when it destroys an opponent's monster by battle to target one level 7 or lower warrior monster in your graveyard and add to your hand, being able to then add either the Gaia support or any of the other knights we may have to use for ritual costs. With the last of the monsters that we run in the deck, just being 3 Manju of the 10,000 Hands. Manju can search out the ritual spell or the ritual monster, so depending on what you need for that play, it's probably your best normal summon in the entire deck. That's why I like running 3, just for that easy setup. And that is it for the monsters. We'll now move on to the spells. I run 3 Gateway to Chaos. This is your field spell in the deck. When it's activated, you add one Blackluster Soldier ritual monster or one Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from your deck to your hand. Each time a monster is sent from the hand or field to the graveyard, place 1 spell counter on this card for each of those cards, maximum 6. And once per turn, you can remove 3 spell counters from this card to add 1 ritual spell card from your deck to your hand. You go and activate 1 Gateway to Chaos per turn. So the first initial effect can act and add either your Gaia or any of your Blackluster Soldier, Super Soldier setup ritual monsters to your hand. So very, very good for the search there. And the Chaos, the spell counters can also be used for some additional cards that we are running in the deck, including the trap card, Super Soldier Shield, for recycling it onto the field. For the actual ritual spells in the deck, now this ratio can change depending on player preference, but I have 1 Super Soldier Ritual for the main, I would say, generic play you were going for with your Gaia monsters and some of the other ones you run in the deck. Remember, the numbers have to be exact for the play, but also during the main phase, except the turn was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card and 1 light monster and 1 dark monster from your graveyard to special summon 1 Blackluster Soldier ritual monster from your hand, ignoring its summoning conditions, giving you more options for more of the rituals you may have. But I would say the better spell is the Super Soldier Synthesis. With this card can be used to ritual summon any Blackluster Soldier ritual monster from your hand or graveyard. You must also send 1 light and 1 dark monster from your hand and 1 from your deck to the graveyard, whose total levels equal exactly level 8. You you can activate 1 Super Soldier Synthesis per turn. So the main setup is the Dark and also then the Light monster that you run. You run both of these options to then either send from your hand or graveyard or vice versa, depending on which one you have, giving the Ritual monster on the field the 2 card effects that these cards will bestow upon it, and also then giving you the option to then re-summon out your Ritual monster from the graveyard if need be, if it was already in the graveyard to use with this card. It's just my preferred Ritual over the Super Soldier Ritual, but I like having plenty of options to also summon out those monsters onto the field. And then as for the one-ofs for these spells, I run 1 Reinforcements of the Army, just search power for any of our Evening, Twilight Night, Beginning Night, or even our Envoy of Chaos to our hand, or even our level 1 option, Super Soldier Soul. 1 Burial from a different dimension. This card can just help to give us resources back to use with our main deck effect monster, Blackluster Soldiers. 1 Instant Fusion. This just gives us another warrior monster on the field in the form of Carbonala Warrior to use. And also I run 1 Foolish Burial. Once again, more graveyard setup. Sometimes you could be short that 1 attribute in the graveyard to banish for Blackluster Soldier. And also 1 Monster Reborn special summoning resources back on the field to use. And also Terraforming for the Gateway to Chaos, and the 1 Divine Sword Phoenix Blade. This is because we can make the Isolde combo, which then if you use Isolde after you link summon it, you can send the Phoenix Blade to the graveyard as just the only equip spell we run to special summon out Super Soldier Soul to the field that much more faster. I would say it's the easiest way to summon out than just having to rely on drawing it or searching it with cards like Reinforcements of the Army. And that is it for the spells. We'll now move on to the traps. I run a few traps that just focus on setup for the Blackluster Soldier deck, and that is 2 Beginning of Heaven and Earth. You reveal 3 warrior monsters from your deck, including at least 1 Blackluster Soldier or 1 Gaia the Fierce Knight, and have your opponent randomly pick one. If they picked a Blackluster Soldier or Gaia the Fierce Knight monster, you add to your hand. If not, send them all to the graveyard, which most of the time you're going to reveal all of those cards, so then you'll at least have a search using this trap. I also run 2 Super Soldier Rebirth. You target 1 Blackluster Soldier monster you control, send it to the graveyard, and special summon 1 from your hand with a different name from that monster, ignoring its summoning conditions. And during your main phase, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard to target 1 Blackluster Soldier monster in your graveyard and add to your hand. So this is just a means to get around some of the big requirements for summoning out these cards onto the field, using, I would say, the much easier Ritual monster once it's out on the field. And then the last trap I run in the deck is just the 1 Super Soldier Shield. When a spell or trap or monster effect is activated that targets a monster on the field, while you control a Blackluster Soldier monster, negate the activation. And if you do, destroy that card. And if this card's in the graveyard, you can remove 1 spell counter from your side of the field to set this card, but banish it when it leaves the field. So with our Gateway to Chaos, this is the best way to make use of the additional spell counters to then just reset this counter trap on the field. If you wanted to bump up the numbers, you can always drop and mix around some of the other trap numbers with this card, but also, once again, player preference, and I prefer the other ones as they help just to set up the actual play style of the deck. And that is it for the main deck. When I move on to the extra deck, I run the 1 Isolde, 2 Tales of the Null Knight. So I already went over the search combo that this card can easily provide using our equip spell, 1 Underclock Taker, 1 IP Masquerena, along with 1 Nightmare Cerberus, and 1 Wee Witch's Apprentice, along with 1 Nightmare Phoenix, and 1 Barricade Board Blocker. Especially with the field spell setup, Barricade Board Blocker does come in handy. Also, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, along with the 1 Link Karibo. Super Soldier Soul is the only target for this card, but it comes up more than I'd like, because I normally don't like to leave it on the field if I can't make the Ritual play. And our Link 3 in the deck is Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. It once again makes use of the 3 monsters with different names when we summon them out, having the additional boosts for Blackluster Soldier as well, and additional plays by banishing a card on the field, and having the additional second attack during the battle phase. Very, very strong and useful. Also for the rank 4 plays, 1 number 101, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Daigusto Immorale, along with 1 Heroic Champion Excalibur, and for the instant fusion target, the Carbonala Warrior. So we have that 1 additional monster if need be for the Ritual play. And then as for the go-to plays, setting up the Ritual is a very important part of it. So we have plenty of search to gather the Blackluster Soldier cards to our hand if you use the Gateway to Chaos. To add the Ritual monster, you can use Manju to then search out the Ritual spell, which then all you need is that 1 additional resource in your hand. Using the Super Soldier Synthesis, adding whichever one you had in your hand, sending that card as the cost, and then the additional one from your deck to the graveyard, which if you send send Evening Twilight Night, you want to make sure you send Beginning Night. Summoning out your Super Soldier with the additional card effects that it has, and also the ones that it gets from Evening Twilight Night and Beginning Night, the banish option. So this is definitely a going second deck, just because this card can easily take out multiple cards your opponent may have on the field alone. But that is it for the deck profile. I hope you all enjoy the video. Like I said, it's been a while since I've actually updated Black Luster Soldier. I think it's been a couple years, but glad I was finally able to again. It's a really, really fun deck to look into building if you are a fan of the old Yu-Gi-Oh! Playstyle with a few new cards added in. And as always, until next time, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And Kira, Twig out.